Hello, 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 everybody. Thank you for coming and welcome to GQUAT Traditions, the garden quilt and art show where good friends become family and family is everything. Sometimes, like when I go on other people's channel and I say, why are they looking all around acting all dilly? And they got us sitting here waiting. But there's a lag between your streaming show and whatever else you're doing. So I'm looking in my phone trying to see if you guys are there. So if you are, give the thumbs up, please. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Dolores. I'll see you later. Okay. So I know two people are there. It's not showing up on my phone yet, but I see you. I'm learning how to read these things, and it shows that I am live. Janet, almost homesteading with you. Auntie Ellen, I have been seeing all your shorts. I answered three, Janet, and I heard you say that you will be posting three a day. Hey, Sissy, Auntie Joanne, I see people speaking to you. Maria Graham, thank you, thank you, thank you. And welcome, welcome in, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I would like to thank those of you in the bushes, those of you who are here the first time, the subscribers. And by the way, it's free to subscribe, everybody. Doesn't cost anything, but it helps the algorithm so that I can reach more people. If you'd like to help support the channel so that I can get more content, you can do so some kind of way by checking on something in the chat. I guess the dollar sign. Tina, the New Orleans gardener, thank you. And welcome, welcome, welcome. Those of you who are content creators, just put an exclamation mark and GQuat in the chat. I saw you when I woke up last night, sis, the New Orleans gardener. And was it last night or Sunday? I get my days, my nights mixed up. And you were talking about the people who are gardeners and the New Orleans gardener on her live stream. She had Broke Farmer and Calvin. What is Calvin's channel? But anyway, he's not here. But they were saying that they are new gardeners, meaning that they've been gardening less than, I believe, 5 years. 755 Media, thanks for coming and welcome. And they are master gardeners now. They have, I think Broke Farmer said he has like 280 trees. I'd like to tell you something about Broke Farmer. So I've been gardening since I was like 2 years old. You know, Daddy taking me out there and saying, put two in the hole, put two in the hole. Hey, Mike's Chaotic Gardening, thank you. He's in the ads. Thank you. Appreciate that. I might make enough money to pay for my streaming service this month. That would be nice. But we've always gardened and canned. We grew up in Connecticut, but it was old school when we went down south to visit my grandmother's or to go in to Pennsylvania where my grandfather had hunting dogs and raised animals. Thank you. Thank you. Darth X, thank you, thank you, thank you. 280 trees. Yeah, that's what Broke Farmer said. So it just goes to show you. And I was going to tell you that I have been gardening all my life. My sister Joanne Stevens never liked to get her hands dirty. She was always a princess. Me, I was kind of what they used to say back in the day, like a tomboy. I was the oldest of six, the eldest, including my brothers, and I thought it was my job, my job to do everything Daddy did. You know, I was a daddy's girl. I was always in his toolbox, taking his hammers, his screws, the hand saws. How many of you remember the drills? They used to have they were manual and they used to have a thing that you turned around like an old fashioned egg beater. It was like that. And I, I was talking to somebody and I was not trying to be rude or disrespectful. I don't know when I didn't know how to garden. But after the shutdown and I moved in my handicapped apartment here, I have a community garden and I had a hip replacement, two knee replacements. It was difficult for me to bend over. As a matter of fact, it's been difficult the last couple weeks. I fell 2 times in 2 days. Juanita Campbell, welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I have this little thing here because one of the places I fell was in my kitchen. And I fell between this big butcher block, this vintage butcher block, and the stove. My baby sister said, "How did you get up?" It was difficult getting up. But I want you to say something. I found this little silver thing on the ground, and you look at those hand drills now. Hey, Fifi, I saw you out there crunching your way across the snow and ice today. It's a little piece of silver. And I looked at it and I'm like, this is this is real silver. How could it have gotten in my kitchen? Now, I haven't had a helper for 2 weeks. You laugh at those hand drills, Fifi. It's funny. But you know what? I would hold on to them in case the grid goes down or something happens. You might need that. You're not going to have your hand drills. I mean, unless you have a way to charge the battery. This is a piece of silver. You have a garden all your life, but you grew all year because that's how we eat. You didn't go to the store. The garden was the store, never a recall. Hey, Cece, I've been watching you every day in your garden. You and Tina do the most. No, a lot of you do. And I would say I envy it, but guess what? It would be una mentira in Espanol. That means a little white storyteller because I can't even take care of this apartment by myself. That's why I have a helper. Excuse me. I'm not sick. I'm just getting excited, swallowing air. And I have chronic bronchitis all my life and asthma. Okay. So, yeah, I fell so hard. Fifi, be careful because um, Maria Graham was saying the same thing. Well, we grew up in Connecticut. And when we were younger, we lived in an apartment, but we always rented a garden. We had a few plants like outside the apartment, few tomatoes. Daddy even had a rose bush for the spoiled one. And my favorite flower was marigolds. Oh, I had tons of marigolds. I actually thought that marigolds were perennials. They're not. But ours used to drop so many seeds that they would come up every year. Donzel Cooper, hello, 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 nephew. Thank you and welcome in. For those of you who see, I changed my background. I may or may not have allegedly climbed up on a step stool and then these three chairs to stand up and change the quilt back here. But this is my Maria Graham quilt that I got in the mail. You say, so excited, swallowing air. I do. I do. And then I get like dry and my whistle is not wet. So now that goes. Oh, I was telling you about Broke Farmer. So they had a grow off a couple of years ago. It was right after he started his, and I won a $25 giveaway. Well, I had never had containers before. And from you guys in the gardening community, even though I'm an elder and I've been growing, you learn something new every day. You learn something about gardening every day. You learn to find things that you never grew that are good for you, good to you, and you grow new things. Sometimes gardeners just send you, you said 2 feet on the ground. Uh, Oh, me? Uh, I may or may not have allegedly climbed way up there. Now that's a 10-foot ceiling up there, y'all. But, but I did promise something, and I promised 755. I think I either talked to her by phone or she texted me. I have one of those alerts. Help me, I've fallen and I can't get up. I should have had it around my neck that day walking around here when my behind was on the floor, rolling over like a beached whale trying to get up. Oh, by the way, I live in Connecticut and it's not too far from the ocean where I am now. Mother, hi mom. Where my mom lives, I used to walk to the beach every day and turn around. And when we grew up, we daddy had a boat, so he stored it out of the water and he'd go take it to the ramp when we wanted to go fishing, which was a lot. But the other day in my town, there was, how many of you saw the Super Bowl and they had Seal, the singer, his face in the body of a seal? That was the weirdest thing. Mike saying no climbing. My mother's probably rolling her eyes and telling my granddaughter, the day I fell the first time in the store and I hit my face is still a little bit swollen. My arm is still a little bit purple over here, black and blue. Mike's Chaotic Gardening is saying hello. Well, there was a seal that had gotten out of the ocean, walked past the sand, and was walking around the streets here in my town. And they picked him up and took him to the big aquarium up in Mystic, Connecticut. Connecticut is on the seashore off Long Island Sound. You guys, your meals had me trying to eat my oh, T Nog's meals and the cooking. And so the seal was just walking around. Maria Graham saying, hello, mother. Cece said that was weird. That was weird, but it was a baby seal. I don't know where its mother was. Its mother said, youngin, come here. That's what my grandma from down south used to say, call us. She used to call us youngins. Or youngin, come here. Well, there were too many of us to remember all our names or to say them fast. And we used to go see what grandma wanted. Excuse me. So I was talking about Broke Farmer. So when I won the $25, I went to the Dollar Tree when it was $1, and I got a bunch of containers, and I bought a soldering iron off of Amazon, and I put holes in all the things, and those were my first containers. Then they had a grow off. I want to show you that everybody can grow something, and everybody should grow something. Herbs are so expensive. A little pack, a little flat pack like this, like the inside of my hand, it's like $5, $6 at the store. I grow my herbs and dry them. I'm dehydrating oranges. I have to put a short out. My sister, Joanne Stevens, has a huge Myers lemon tree in her yard and an orange tree. And she has so many oranges and they're so ripe, they're just dropping off on the ground. That's because I'm not there. Hey, Greenland Katie, thank you for coming and welcome, welcome, welcome. And she sent a big box of oranges and lemons to my mom's house. My mom is about an hour away. Do you know it cost $50 just to mail this box of fruit? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Food is just ridiculous. For those of you who don't know, there's some of the things that you should be storing up on. You're making butterfly tea. It's so good because it's so cold today. When it's cold in New Orleans, it's cold, y'all. It is cold. It is cold. It's so cold in Connecticut. I saw Fifi. She's in New England, not in Connecticut, but not that far from me. And she was, I had to laugh. I'm not laughing at you, Fifi. I'm laughing with you because she had on her boots, nice, like firm, grippy boots, and she was walking on the snow, but the snow was frozen, the ice underneath it. Hey, PIA, thanks for coming and welcome, welcome, welcome. I saw you opening up your little package, and she was like, "Oops, oops." That's how I am when I'm walking outside. I haven't walked over there in the park yet in 2 weeks where I take Hershey because the whole park is like that. And I'm slipping and a sliding, moving and a grooving. And like I said, I haven't had a helper. She's tiny anyway. She couldn't get me up if I did go down. She might be able to help roll me over till I can get my feet under me. Oh, Marie Graham saying, Miss Linda, I will take some of the butterfly PTs. Thanks. I have some seeds for the blue butterfly. I haven't put them up yet. Daddy used to have saying, well, his parents were farmers. So after 8th grade, everybody left school to go help work on the farm. You did something. The little kids would bring the biscuits out, midday. You ate dinner for breakfast if you had breakfast. And they grew, Daddy said they grew cotton when he was little, but when we used to go down there, they grew tobacco. You're drinking mullein and hibiscus tea? I have some mullein. I grew a little bit of mullein, but then and it lasted for 2 years here in Connecticut, and then it died. And so did my yarrow. But Arthur Bamet sent me some mullein seeds. Everything in my two hydroponic systems died this year. I used sink water and didn't let it sit long enough, and I guess the chlorine cleared it. But I'm going to clean it out and start over again. You can just film so you can go viral. Oh, oh. So I will be. Daddy used to say, "Don't plant a garden unless you're going to be there to take care of it." I'm not going to be here. You can't plant outside where I am in the shade until June, which is after Memorial Day weekend. But I'll be over there in T Nog's zone. I will be in 9B, the half from the middle of May until the middle of June, because I'm going out to Auntie Joanne's house and wreck it for a month. Maria says you have a big old butterfly just for her, butterfly tea. That is so good. Now I have hibiscus, but I didn't grow it. I bought it organic, so, allegedly online, because my garden is shady. I accept what it is. I'm glad that to have a garden. It's not far. I can walk to it every morning on the way back from walking Mr. Hershey. And I'm thankful for what I have. I make it do what it do. You love yarrow. You bought seeds for it last week. Oh, I wish I'd known because I bought yarrow and they sent hundreds and hundreds of seeds and they drop them and it thickens and you grow a lot. So I've got all these containers out there. Then I bought a couple of the silver ones. As a matter of fact, I have to send the link to my computer technician, not my computer, my featherweight sewing machine technician. Miss Linda, you did a Happy Mail video. Thank you so much for your kindness. Yes, that's what I was thanking you for, PIA. I did see your Happy Mail. Your Happy Mail. So I have been doing some catch up things. I have, for my 15 minutes a day to create, I didn't actually sew on the sewing machine. One of the things I did, because I'm taking Maria's beautiful quilt down and take it in my bedroom, but it has a label. Last week I pulled out a tote and it had some quilts that I've done in the last 10 years. Part of those 10 years, I was legally blind and I couldn't sew. I could barely sew. I cranked things out, but they didn't have labels. I tell you guys, No job is finished, no quilting job, until you have put the label on it. So let's see. Almost homesteading Janet said she was sorry for what she missed and starting dinner. Dinner's a good thing to have. Oh, your package smells so good. I forgot what I put in it, PIA. When I have something for you guys, I put it aside. I've got like a little box here for unbiased. I've got a package for Auntie Joanne. It's right here. I have another package for Gina, um, Maria Graham. This one may or may not allegedly be going out to you. And something just fell out of it, but I know it's there. So I pile stuff up. And then when I walk by, I see something. I'm like, oh, this is cute. Oh, I'm going to stick that in there. And then I forget. Or I forget New Orleans Gardener said she saw the beautiful gifts that PIA received. And she said she's welcome. That is so cool. So, what I did for my 15 minutes a day, this was a panel of the world. And I finally put a label on it. I put a label on it. I put a label on two quilts that belong to my quilting guru, my mentor that taught me how to quilt. I always knew how to sew, but I had never put the three layers of fabric together and made a quilt. Speaking of gardening, you love yarrow because once you get it growing, it just takes care of itself. Yes, and once you know what it is, what it looks like, you start seeing it on the side of the road in the median strip, especially if you have the little white flowers. So let's talk about growing things and the things you should be storing up, whether you grow them or not. One thing is coffee. I don't know if anybody gets off of YouTube long enough to see what's going on in the news. There are severe droughts in parts of Colombia, Tanzania, or they say Tanzania, the people that live in Africa. In those countries, there is a severe drought. I don't know what's going on with the weather. The weather in Connecticut is weird this year. It's usually February, it starts warming up. January is the coldest month, but not this year. February is horrible. Hey, you grow row. Thanks for coming and welcome. You have to Google yarrow. It is an herb and it's used for healing for your skin. You can drink it. You can use it on your skin. But there's a lot. I have a lot of yarrow out there. In addition to the seeds. So my garden is a community garden, and it's like oh, the the plot that I was given in the spring doesn't have. Oh, it has a big tree right over my area. It's 8 feet wide, 50 feet long, or 40 feet long, something like that. And so it's narrow and long. Climate change is real. It really is. Excuse me. It really is. So I have a plot of land out there. It's 8 feet by 50 feet. Do you cry about it? Do you whine about it? No. You grow what you can grow. I can grow a lot of herbs. So I grow all the herbs I can. You name it, I grow it. I've got some that's dried up from a couple of years ago. I grow tons of I grow cilantro, parsley, rosemary, scallions. This year I'm going comfrey. Almost homesteading with Janet sent me a little nub this big with three little leaves on it. That thing is taking over my apartamento. I have oregano, parsley, basil, um, dehydrated, dried. I've got pineapples last almost forever when you can them, you guys. Lead Farmer gave out a challenge a couple of years ago to can some pineapples, and I'm looking at couple of jars up there now that are in the overflow where the pantry is full, won't even fit in my kitchen, and I canned those in August of 2022. I have oranges that are dehydrated. I was telling you about the other countries. So there's not going to be any coffee. You might want, thank you, Mike, exclamation mark GQUAT to drop your links to connect. Let me highlight that, you guys. Thanks, Mike. And so you might want to stock up on your coffee. I always have coffee. I buy it when it's on sale with my coupons. I give it as gifts, along with like raw sugar or molasses or honey and carnation milk. I don't get in the can, but I buy by the case. And I get those, they come in like little cartons now. They're shelf stable. So I buy those. PI says this is a survival herb that stops bleeding. And they called it wound wort in the Civil War because it stopped the bleeding of soldiers' wounds. Some of it, I think, or maybe it was comfrey, they said would they put when they had broken bones. My mom's grandmother was a Native American healer in Pennsylvania. My grandmother in North Carolina just knew everything. She knew the barks of trees. They grew it. The only time you went to the hospital is if something was broken so badly that they couldn't wrap it up and fix it, or it was cut so badly that they couldn't stitch it up their own selves. Darth X says, no channel yet. Shh. Oh, you're starting a channel, Darth X. Congratulations. Congratulations. So you guys, I have all these container garden containers out there, and I have two of the metal ones so far. But what I like about it is that sometimes I can get some help or get somebody to move the containers around for me to put them in a special place. But I also live near several farms that are owned by family friends for the last 25 years, and I go to their farms and buy things and fresh. I'll have a pick it that day, like collards. Some of you may have seen me canning, freezing, not freeze drying, freezing collards for the holidays and saving them up for the family. I'm the collard green cook in the family. Everybody cooks collard greens, but that's my job during like the big holidays to go to the farm and get these sweet collards, and they don't pick them until the first frost. And when we grew up, we used to do what we call cracking them. We used to take the outer leaves and keep taking the outer leaves and keep taking the outer leaves. And but here they cut down the whole stalk. They just clear cut it. They just clear cut it. I think sometimes they grow back, maybe not. But here in Connecticut, it gets so cold. Ain't no growing back this year, I don't think. I have left my collards in over the winter. I have overwintered collards before, and Swiss chard and broccoli, and then in the spring they seed, and I collect the seeds. The seeds I collect, I always test them. I've got a butternut squash and something else on the table now that I picked in 2024, and I'm going to take the seeds out. A funny story. Last year, I left the seeds inside the squash so long that a few of them started self germinating inside. I took my happy little hips right outside and stuck them in the dirt. So, let's see. What else is on a worldwide shortage? Rice, you guys. I don't know if you know, but 2 years ago, the country of India exports more jasmine rice than any other country in the world. Thailand also, they're not exporting their rice anymore. Basmati rice. Gee, Mama grows hard in the garden. Thank you for coming and welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate each and every one of you. So I mentioned coffee. Coffee, you're not going to be able to get. You're not going, or very little, or it's going to be so expensive. Chocolate. Why? Chocolate is grown in a lot of the regions that are having worldwide droughts. I want to show you what I did because I'll be cooking live Saturday at 6 p.m., you guys. And I got this a while. This is, I don't want to keep my hands on it too long because I will be breaking these up into 1 cup packages. So I'd say 1 cup should equal like 5 or 6 ounces. This is going to make a lot. Saturday, what I will be cooking is a skillet chocolate chip cookie. So we're going to do that live. And I'm going to cook it in my black cornbread skillet. Except I might put some parchment paper on the bottom because my skillet is used for frying chicken and fish or making cornbread. I ain't got but one size, I mean one skillet since I downsized here, and I think it's a 10 inch skillet. It might be only an 8. It's not that big. It's not that big. I bought one of those South American when I downsized from my house. My house was big. When I downsized to this apartment, I had to get all apartment size stuff to fit because the stuff from the house, the dining room table, everything wouldn't fit in here. So I have something like, I think it's called a calderon. You see it on a lot of the Spanish cooking shows, but it's a big aluminum pot and it's wide. It's big. It's big and it has a top to it. You can fry enough chicken if you get it hot enough. I just have an electric stove, so it only gets so hot. The professional stoves, like mommy's stove, had like double burners. Well, my sister Auntie Joanne's stove has one burner that's like super hot. It's like double hot. That's where I put her big pot when I make oxtails. So I will be cooking chocolate. Yes. So I'll be making a skillet sized chocolate chip cookie live on Saturday. Let me ask you guys a question about the people around you. How many of you have people who also grow, or you can change things with, or exchange things, or barter? You've been adjusting to apartment size stuff, G Mama Grows. You can dig it. Bouger, Prepper, hola, Sobrina, ¿cómo estás? My Bouger Prepper Unbiased says, hello, Queen and chat. I appreciate each and every one of you. You know, just like my asthma and stuff, my other condition is my eye always waters. It always waters. But, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. So I just want to ask you guys one last question before I go over to the sewing machine, because what I will be doing today, toot toot, Bouger Prepper, G Mama Grow says, I will finally be putting the binding on Dolores's quilt. But I want to ask you a question, and this is those of you in the chat. This I made with some fat quarters that I had for a while. This was, like they say, some of that expensive fabric, and I was saving it for myself to make something out of. There's a quilt that you make with fat quarters. But then when I met Dolores and she started helping me with the channel, and she likes pink, the roses in here are like red or rose pink. So I decided to take these fabrics and make a quilt for her. So we will be machine sewing the binding. And this is a pretty big quilt. I know that she has a king size bed. It's not a bed quilt. This is for her personally to take a little nap under. So, and the fabric feels so good. I just have to ask her if she wants me to spray it with some patchouli oil. So this is the back of it. So let me show you, Francesca. Hi, I saw you in the bushes this morning on Yankee Sisters channel. I saw you. So let me show you how to how I put machine binding on. And when I put machine binding on a quilt, I sew it from the back. I will demonstrate in a minute. I sew it from the back and then I flip it over so that when I sew it down for good, I sew it down on the front. So if any stitches end up showing like this, you, you see that? It's on the back and your front looks perfect. I mitered the corners. I mitered the corners. You can do that with the sewing machine. And you come to the corner and fold it down. You had you've been tired because you didn't hear the notification that I was on. That's okay. That's okay. Because when you find some of those old machines, the side of the road, whatever, those are the best. So we're gonna be sewing the binding on Dolores's quilt so she can finally get it out in the mail, Dolores. But I didn't have to do it. I don't have to save up my money, and I bought a wide backing for it, and it's all one color because she's a pink girl living in her pink world as she does her little thing, and she will get it. But I have so many little things going on. I don't buy gifts for my anybody in my family. I make every single thing I give them. I mean, I may give them something additional, but I always give them something that they can remember that I made with Nana's own two hands. So it could be cooking. It could be cooking. I have one neighbor that always says, Ellen, if you needed a tester, let me know. I gave her some chocolate chip cookies. I gave her some oatmeal cookies. She wanted the recipe. I gave her that. She, oxtail, whatever I'm cooking. Then I have another friend that someday she'll say, well, Ellen, don't cook Sunday. I'm cooking Sunday dinner. Bougie Prepper has done a live where she made my own recipe, Auntie Ellen's apple cake, where I make it with fresh apples that I get from the fruit farms near me. I don't have an apple tree. I don't have 208 trees. So I do what I can. I get in where I fit in. And I make apple cakes and make my cornbread from scratch. Those of you who want to save money, stop eating out. And you don't know what those people are doing? Like T-Nog says. They're sitting over there handing your food out. I see some, they cough in their hands and then they go touch all the food, or they talking and fixing stuff, spit flying everywhere. Ew. I can't. Growing up, Daddy didn't like us to eat out. He did not like us to eat at other people's houses. We did. You know, kids, we'd sneak and do it. But we had uncles and aunts on every corner about where we lived, and all the neighbors. And whoever's house you were in, at dinner time or whatever, uh, you could go in and get a plate. Most people came to our house because we always had a garden, and Mommy always cooked a lot, a lot, a lot. Bougie, Janet is saying she hasn't seen you, missed your face. I know, she's so cute and so much fun. But I want to ask you one last question before we go over to the machine. How many? Who's in your camp? Who's in your village? Like says it takes a village to raise a child. We always knew if we went somewhere across town where we weren't supposed to be, people would say, Penny, what are you doing over here? Penny's my nickname that my family calls me. Does your mother know you over here? And before I got home, Mommy knew where I was, or an aunt would drive by, or an uncle, or somebody. I had one aunt that used to drink. Sorry, mother, I have to tell this. And we would see her downtown with her friends, her little drinking friends. And I'd see her, and I'd try to, Aunt Rosie Joanne, I would try to duck her and go across the street. And then she would have on her red lipstick. She'd say, oh, there goes Penny. Penny, come give Auntie a kiss. Oh, to quiet her, I'd run over and give her a kiss and run real fast. Maritza's Yarn and Crafts. Thank you and welcome in. Thank you and welcome in. So, how many of you, what type of people do you want in your village? Put a one in the people if you want, put a one in the chat if you want somebody that's a stand-up person that will tell you the truth, or put a two in if you want the people around you to tell you what you want to hear, blow smoke up your up your tailpipe. you know, I would rather have a number one person, somebody that's going to tell me the truth. I have my great grandchildren are in their 20s, and one of them is like my twin. She used to come in my room and she would say, Nana, I don't mean to be rude or disrespectful, but like if I cook some greens, most of you say number one. She said, you put too much cumin. I don't like that. Nancy, Nana, don't put that fancy stuff in. Like I grow all these herbs and stuff that they don't eat, and not accustomed to. And my taste buds don't work. I don't smell well. So I put too much seasoning in. Unbiased says one all day long. And James says he wants no people in his village. Tell James I'm gonna crash there just because. I'm gonna sit right outside his house until y'all open the door. If I ever get to Indiana, I'd rather have honest people around me. There's a Bible scripture about that. You think in Proverbs? Yankee's sister on her channel and Francesca they do Bible study. I go to Bible study almost every day in the bushes or something. Wellness with Frugal Mama. Welcome, welcome, welcome. A 755 says, no comino, no te gustas comina, amiga. I like it, but I don't use it in other people's cooking. When I cook for others, I cook for the public. I don't cook like I cook for myself. When I cook for myself, I do whatever I put extra. I actually add it afterwards. And the reason I say that is because I was going to do something with a label. I won't say the details. And my sister Joanne, she's always my biggest supporter for my art, my quilting. Others are too. But Joanne, I talked to because she was the first one my mother brought home from the hospital. Haha, you know we'd let you in. I ain't the kind you ain't gonna let in. I'm gonna get in. I'm gonna get in. You won't be able to lock me out. Proverbs 27:6. Faithful are the wounds from a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. Hello, somebody. I'm going to highlight that. For those of you who read the Bible, check that out. And I highlighted it because when I go back to listen to my chats, I will see this. I will see this. When you get older and become an elder, all of y'all just keep living, but your brain and your mouth don't, the mind can make the mouth say anything, but the mouth doesn't always say what the brain wants it to do. And I'll say a word that I meant to say, or I think I said, but that's not what I said. That's not what came out of my mouth. And that's just part of aging. And then I see sometimes people younger than me doing that, and I have to smile, like Daddy used to say, just keep living. But I was telling Auntie Joanne that I was gonna half do something, right? And she's on the phone, and she can look at you like if looks could kill. She's like, sissy, and she'll say just like that, sissy. I call her sissy. She calls me sissy. You like cumin in your meatloaf topping, my? She goes, sissy. Why are you doing that? My mother. If my mother sees me doing something that's encouraging, everybody in my family is like that. They'll tell you, and they'll tell you the truth. They're not going to say it in a mean way or no cussing, no disrespectful, but they're going to let you know, that's not exactly right. But Auntie Joanne told me about something that I had intended to do, and I knew it wasn't right. Just testing the waters. Just testing the waters. So, sissy, I fixed it. I made it right. I made it right. I made it right. So, yeah, I would rather you tell me straight up, just straight up, straight up. And now, me, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth. If you're in my village, if you're not in my village and you're just running your mouth, it's easier for me to walk away. I'm not going to disrespect you. You just cut off. You just cut off. I may not even tell you cut off. You just be saying, I wonder what happened to her. Haven't seen her in a while. Yeah, I get the ghost. So, Dolores, I know she's busy because I spoke to her before I went live. And I know she's watching and can't chat. Look at all these beautiful fabrics in her quilt. And so, let's go over and stop talking about it and be about it and get the binding on her quilt. So I've got my tissue so I can wipe my eye. I might have to come back and get my water. Got my bell. This is actually the bell for my goat, Lilac, my lead goat. One of my goats was, the breed of goat, I had miniature goats the last time on my farm in North Carolina. I couldn't I couldn't have meat animals on my property because my family wouldn't eat it. Keep it, sissy. Oh, I am. I'm not going to say it, but I already did it. I already fixed what you told me to do. You'll see it. You'll see it. So, what my sister means is keep it, sissy. She meant keep my mouth shut. That's code. That's sissy code for don't blow it. Don't blow it. Some things you do, you don't talk about, but your family and the people in your village should be honest. You need to have people you can trust. You can't, Daddy used to always say, you can't trust a liar or a thief. I can't stand either one. Get thee behind me, Satan. James asked if you were an Aquarius because they ghost people. No, I'm a straight up scorpion. I am a straight up scorpion. So I'm going to turn you guys a little bit. Should have done it before. I should have done it before. Am I turning too fast? Turning too fast. Well, since Janet is in here and since I can reach it, I want to show you this. Janet, can you believe this is the comfrey that you sent me? That one little nub? Look how it grew. I can't wait to make my comfrey salve for my arthritis. Ugh. So the table in back of me, I have basil, rosemary, scallions, celery, parsley growing in here. Up there are dried herbs. Okay. Sage is up there, bunches of stuff. Daddy never liked, hey, Rudy Irahita. Daddy never liked a lot of spices. We had salt and pepper, onions, like bell peppers. He liked hot peppers in his greens, cut them up in his, and maybe a little bit of garlic and garlic powder, but that was it. All that, like my kids say. And Nana, not none of those fancy herbs, none of those fancy herbs. So that is for me. And take the cover off my machine. And I have already made my binding. How I make my binding? Did you give a new blamp because it's a full grown? Yes. Oh, my 755 painting. You see it back there? 755. So this is what's going to happen. I don't have a ladder, and nobody will let me use one because they know I'm not supposed to be climbing on one, right? So this this painting that I did up there of Uncle Roscoe in the water, I'm going to have that taken down, and I'm putting your painting. Can you guys see it over there? Can you guys see it? Her painting, that's why it's there, because I was envisioning it up there. I just have to get somebody to do it. Oh, nice, Auntie. Oh, you're comfrey past? I'll have comfrey to share. Hopefully, the way this is growing in here, I'm waiting for the roots to outgrow the pot. I'm waiting for the roots to outgrow the pot. I don't usually kill things, but I did kill a couple things. But every gardener kills something. If you ain't killing nothing, you ain't gardening. You're not taking any chances. Just keep it moving. So I was telling you about, this was Lilac's Bell. She was my lead goat. What is this talking about? Keep current selection. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm trying to pull up my chat so that I can see you guys over here and talk to you. Because if you have to excuse me when I'm showing you guys, if I don't see or I miss a comment, but you let me know if you hear something. So I make my binding. You told James about my fall. You think I'm bad. Janet and her husband are remodeling a home. And she goes up these big old tall ladders. I don't know how she comes back down them. She comes back down them. I used to be really afraid of height until I drove a truck cross country a couple times up in the Rocky Mountains with and a 25-foot truck with a tow dolly in my car on it. Brass ones, fearless. But I got over, and I took a couple woods courses where you had to do some things with height. So I'm not as afraid. I'm not as afraid. So I make my binding. The quilt police say to make it 2¼ inches. I don't. I make mine 2½ inches. Why? Because anything extra I can use for my 2½ inch blocks, and I can make jelly rolls out of them. I can use them for multiple purposes. And so I make mine 2½ inches. You can make yours whatever you want. So here we go. I don't know. Skip. Okay, so Nikki, the everyday life of an OCD is check. Hello, 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 hello. Let me see if there's anybody else I missed. I find the best patterns. Oh, thank you. You know, some of them I make up, like the ones with the bricks. I went to Lowe's and I found a brick and I measured it. I wanted to see what size it was. Then when I was making the African fabrics, I split them in three and put them apart. So everybody's speaking. So these are ready. These are ready. And I won't do it on camera, but let me show you about putting a label on. So this is the label that's going on Dolores's quilt. I call this quilt Pink Passion. It's by Ellen Pankey, 2025, to Dolores Martin, and I made it in Connecticut. I will ask her if she wants me to put the dimensions on it, so I will put it on the side. But this is what I want to show you. In order to write on a piece of fabric, I always tell you to put a label. You can't write on it. It moves around. It's not good. This is a piece of freezer paper, not parchment paper, freezer paper. Why? Because the heat from the iron, you use a dry iron and sit it on it. So this is actually a little denim ironing board. And you you put the label down, you put the freezer paper. I cut this freezer paper the same size as a label, and and I put the heat on it. Then I write on it. And then after I write on it, I put the heat on it again because it's like a laser printer and it will set the ink. You can set it a little more permanent than just moving it. And yes, these are big. I have written with fine tip. I have fine tip markers. I have very fine tip markers like these, but I like the fact that you can see this better. You can see this better. When people go to the quilt shows, you don't even touch the quilts with your bare hands. They have white gloves, people with white gloves that turn your quilt over. And when you put the label on your quilt, it's like if you have a quilt on your bed or looking at it, you go to the bottom right hand corner, and flip it up, and that's where you put your label. That's where you put your label because that's where everybody will look at it in a quilt show or in a public place instead of people touching your whole quilt, looking all over it. You don't want that. They've been eating um, hot dogs and popcorn and everything else and come and messing with your quilt. You don't want that. You don't want that. So after you, or you could use double-sided heat and bond, but I want to tell you this: don't forget, do not forget when you after you finish writing on it, you go to the back. You see this? It's almost like it's glued on, but it's not. Can you hear this? And you pull the freezer paper off. The freezer paper has a little bit of plastic on it. And the plastic is what melts into it so that when you write on it, it's not moving all around. It's not moving all around and wiggling. And then these are some pre-made labels that I bought at a quilt show. Then you just turn them down. I pinch them with my fingernails. If I feel like it, I get up and go to the iron. I have a small iron, but this table I sew on is small. So, yeah, this is the Pink Passion quilt and for Dolores, and I will put it on. So, without further ado, let's get to sewing on it. Yeah, and I have to go through and take any loose strings off. So, here we go. I just love the fabrics in this quilt. I told you I was going to save it for myself. It was going to have more of this taupe in it, and not taupe. This is taupe with the flowers in it. And some of this pink I bought at a quilt, and I know where I got this, way down in North Carolina, almost near the South Carolina border. And I made like seemingly colors that don't go together. Those are how grandma's old quilts were. But that's why you put them together so that they mix and they match. But they all have something in common, either a flower or something. So, uh-oh, here's the end of it. So I'm going to use a 1/4 inch seam. Dolores! Dolores, I know you were watching somewhere. You couldn't wait to see your quilt. So since she hasn't seen it in a while, let me see if I can show it to you. Oh yeah, I can do it this way. I can do it this way. And flip it around. But you guys will get to see it as I'm sewing on it. And the back is all pink and white flowers for the pink and the white girl. She loves it. Oh, you love it, Dolores. Thank you. I'm glad. So we're going to be, this quilt is being sewn all by machine because I want her to be able to use it. I want her nephews to be able to go in and jump on Auntie Dolores's bed and enjoy it and put it in the washer and dryer and it will never wear out. Hey Mona, thanks for coming and welcome, welcome, welcome. Mona and I became. Oh, which Mona is it? I didn't see. Mona, oh, Mona did what? Oh, Mona, I just have to tell you this. Mona did what? You guys are so funny. I'm in your bushes because I'm never where I can use the phone or I don't have my glasses and I take something totally ignorant in there or spell check took it and did something devious to it. So I'm in there laughing. Oh, I have to tell you all a funny story about Mona. Mona is so much like me. So she's sitting up there one day. For those of you who don't know, this is a seam ripper, a tiny one. So she's like, "Oh, this is I haven't used my seam ripper all day." When they have the quilt police, when you're quilting in different guilds and whatnot, they have all these rules on top of rules on top of rules. It's not like improvisational quilting where you just do whatever you feel like it. So Mona was sitting up there bragging about she hadn't used her her device at all, right? And her seam ripper. And next thing you know, she got the chicken's head on backwards, or it was down by its tail or something. But you can go to her channel, exclamation mark GQUAT, to see what they're doing. And those of you who like to sew, the Joanne says that's a beautiful quilt. Thank you. Those of you who like to have somebody to sew with. They have like sewing bees online, and you can sit and sew with them all day long. Sit and listen to them chatter back and forth. Deb S is actually the pug mom. Is actually one of the newer quilters. To watch her doing all her stuff, it's like watching a new gardener, and then learning. Or they have questions that you would also have. Oh, those of you like this fabric, some of this fabric, and I'm not bragging. This is that $20 a yard fabric, and it feels so good, so good. But not to worry your pretty little heads, your handsome little heads, because I bought those before I moved here and retired. So that's why it was in my stash to make a quilt for me. But Dolores deserves it. So I'm starting on the back. My machine is set on a straight stitch because this is three layers, the front cotton batting and the backing. I have my stitch length on 3 millimeters and the stitch width is 0. So when I start sewing the binding on, hey, pescatarian gardener. Thanks for coming and welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we are sewing the binding by machine onto a quilt. So when I start a quilt, putting the binding on, I leave like a good 9 or 10 inch start before I start. I used to pin every single inch. I don't pin it anymore. And I start in the middle as opposed to a corner. So here we go. Here we go. So, and the reason you do that is so that you can connect a 45-degree angle onto onto the corners. Oh, and when I sewed the lengths, this was wide backing. I think it was 90 inches, 90 inches wide. Yeah. I sewed it on the diagonal the same way I'm going to end it because it doesn't leave a big hump in the middle. So, what I mean is a 45-degree angle is, see this how I sewed it across? I pressed the seams open with the iron unbiased with the iron and flattened it because you want it to be flat. It makes it easier to work with. So here we go. Again, I'm making a 1/4 inch see, few stitches forward, few inches back. And you have to excuse my hand because, let me try something. Let me just try something. Bear with me, you guys. Bear with me. I have a chair in front of here so that I don't knock things off the back of this table. And I didn't push it all the way over. Yeah, now you could see it better. I think you can. Okay. So here we go. So it looks a hot mess over there. It's not as bad as it looks. I throw stuff when I'm live, but that's life, right? I'm sharing the best part of me. So we're going to get you guys as close as possible. And away we go. It doesn't take that long putting the binding on by machine. So giving you guys a bird's eye view. And I'm going to stop a 1/4 inch away from the edges. I'm making sure that I have all the pieces. Okay. Sometimes you see something that looks funny, you just have to stop and fix it. Better to stop and fix it than have to pick it out. So I'm going to put my pin a 1/4 inch away from the end because I don't want to sew over it. So here we go, you guys. Excuse me if I don't see you for a minute. Okay, so here we go. Going to take this pin out. This is a heavy duty machine, but it will not like sewing over that pin. Now, there are other ways to machine sew bindings on it, but this is the way I do it. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I backspace. Why? Because I'm going to end this. And I'm going to cut the seams. And what I'm going to do is I stopped a little more than a 1/4 inch away, but I'm going to fold this on a diagonal. On a diagonal. I'm pressing it down with my fingernails. And I put one pin here. It's just the corners that slow you down. The rest of it goes pretty fast. I'm making sure that this pin is not wrinkling it up. Okay, so let's go again. Let's go, as 755 says. Let's go, GOO. Well, me fiddling around, I knocked my crease out, so I'm going to do it again. It's better to stop and fix it than to have to pick it loose because you didn't do it right. You don't have to put a pin there. And you have to take it out at some point anyway. So now, a few steps forward, a few stitches back. But anyway, when you go live, something always goes wrong. I'll show you another trick that I do when you're sewing a binding on, the weight of the quilt pulls down. Now I have an extension table. I don't have it out here, but what I'm going to do, I put a stool here. You can put the ironing board there, but you put something so that it holds the weight. You're not pulling it on your arm. So there's my little assist on the side, my sidekick, pescatarian speaking, Kelly. I bring it every day. Thanks for coming and welcome, welcome, welcome. So now we are sewing down the sides of the binding. It's not alive, you guys, unless I drop something. So I dropped my snips, but I now have them. And I'm lining it up with my hands. Here we go. Dolores, you'll get your quilt while it's still winter, girlfriend. Actually, I can see you guys over there better. And I'm trying to find other places to put my hands than I normally do when I'm sewing by myself so that you guys can see everything. Now, when I put this binding on, because it's the same color as the backing, you won't even be able to see it. It will be invisible from the back, but you want to be able to see it from the front. That's why we're putting it on this way. I'm making sure that I have all 3 layers. She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. Dolores, you're lucky you're quilty, do ya? Dolores, you got that good fabric in this one, girlfriend. This was not Auntie's budget days. T-Hop 42. I see y'all. I see you in the morning sitting up there with all that ocean background behind you. I'm like, look at him, trying to make us jealous. Okay. T-Hop with the roses, Auntie Ellen, thank you. So this is a binding that will take a lot of, I think I'll increase my stitch length to 3.5. Yeah, it's sewing better. Or you can use a walking foot. You can use a walking foot if you want to. I did want to. I'm just checking to see if I'm sewing through all the layers. And I was looking out to see if you could see out my window, see any snow. You can't see it from where we are now. But there's a like a 6-foot mountain of snow in the parking lot where they pushed it. Okay. And you're not supposed to pull fabric. I've got my hand over there, so to make sure that I'm guiding it straight. Here's a little snip of string. I will do string patrol before I put it in the mail, Dolores. And like I said, this week, you guys, I didn't have a helper, so I didn't go to the post office. Slipping and a sliding, moving and a grooving. I didn't want to risk falling down again, at least until I get rid of my other bruises. And I have a lot of stuff going out. So Saturday for sure I am going. So, but I will take my card, and we're supposed to get some snow flurries tonight, but the It's warming up next week. We're having summer. It'll be all the way up in like 45, 47 degrees in Connecticut. I'm going outside and planting my potatoes. Normally, I will wait until St. Patrick's Day, February 17th, March 17th, but I'm starting them early. Last year, Yankee Sister started her garden early, and she was way ahead of me. And I see Fifi out there doing stuff in her garden. Everybody down south is doing theirs. I want to play too. I want to play. I want to play gardening. The only thing I have growing inside is trying to see if you guys could see it. My grow table. No, you can't see it. Too much stuff over there. Okay. So we're almost to the end of this row. See how fast that went? I've got a pin at the 1/4 inch mark so that I can miter this corner. And you always turn your wheel towards you. You never, ever, ever in a sewing machine turn it backwards. I was talking to my sewing machine guy today. And for those of you in the bushes that like featherweight sewing machines, it's my featherweight guy. And I had left a message for him because somebody, one of Unbiased members, wanted a pink featherweight and asked about it. And I've gotten several featherweights from this guy. And he also, if you don't have a case for your featherweight, he hand makes the cases with real wood, like master carpentry stuff. Aw, man. Did I have my pins in here or in my bedroom? I was sewing some labels on in there. I'll just put this here. I was putting labels on some quilts so that I can put them back away. As soon as I get somebody tall to put them up there, say Tracy Home Team, Psalm 146. How you doing? There's a long stream. Gonna snip her. Gonna move that pin. And sew the corner down. Back up. Going forward again. Okay. When I was sewing, what was it? Not the binding, but the border on my mom's quilt. That denim quilt. Oh my gosh. A denim quilt, 112 inches wide by 96 inches long. That thing was so heavy that I was sitting here trying to turn it in the sewing machine. And this one has a pretty big throat. My helper was standing there like lifting it and holding it so that I could I was stay stitching around the edges. That's what I was doing because I sent that to a long armor. He said he broke like several needles. He probably surcharged me for them. But that was a bigger boy. That's the one with big Roosters jeans in it and my Renaissance grandma's jeans that she sent all the people from my granddaughter's school that she works at. Okay. Here we go. Darth X says media post office boxes should offer delivery service like DoorDash. You know, and my post office is an old one, like hundreds of years old, and you have to go up 3 steps if you're on this side of the stairwell, 4 just to get to a platform. Then you have to go up 6 more steps. Then you have to open a double door, and you got packages, you got everything. Yes, there's a ramp, but the ramp goes around the side of the building this way, then this way. Have you ever been to past someone's home that has a handicap ramp? And the ramp is not Erica Taylor. Thanks for coming and welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And the ramp to their house is going all over the place. And it's like, it's only 6 steps. The ramp is going all around the side of the house. That's how this post office is. I went in there the other day, and there's a lady that's been working there for 25 years. I used to have a house on that street, and I had Cane Corso Italian Mastiffs, and I would walk them every morning, and we'd stop at my P.O. box. She looked at me the other day. She goes, "Where's your helper?" I'm like, "I don't have a helper this week. So I'm in here myself, all dilapidated and decrepit, and trying to do everything myself, carry all that stuff. Plus, they said I need 2 shoulder replacements, a left and right. Both of my rotator cuffs are so worn down that they have cysts on them, but I'm not doing it. I am not doing it. I am not investing in any more titanium. You have to have the weight box labels instead of, oh, that's why people don't do it often. Reading the chat. Reading the chat, darlings. Okay. So, one good thing I did today, my primary care physician moved out of the state in in uh, in June, right? So all of my little things that I have, I didn't go to my primary care, and I found a new primary care physician, but it was too far away. It was down by the beach that I told you, where the seal was wandering around, and I didn't want to have to go over there or take the handicap bus or Uber or whatever to get over there. So now I'm seeing strings that I couldn't see before. I turn on all these bright lights so that I can film. They were talking about that in Mona's chat the other day. And so today I finally called Sissy, and I had a new physician that my insurance company approved list, and it's like right, not even 5 blocks from here, just past the post office over there. And so I have this doctor's name. So I finally start going to take care of myself. All all the things this old engine needs, all the tune-ups and adjustments and things, and she can send me to other specialists that I need to go to. I was actually supposed to get a bone density test today. I ducked. I didn't go. I no-showed. I didn't feel like it. It was too cold. You love the color of the back of Dolores's quilt? Well, Maria, wait until you get your package and see if there's any leftover scraps in it. Excuse me, you guys. I'm cutting these strings while I can see them. While I can see them. Not only do I have glaucoma, I have vision in one eye. It leaves a shadow sometimes. Not complaining, God. Just talking to my friends, my family. Just talking to my family. Making sure I've got all 3 pieces, the front, the back, and the batting of the quilt, plus the 2 layers of the binding. That's why you can use a walking foot if you have one. I have one. I'm not using it. I'm just making it do what it do. So when I do my binding, I'll show you what I have it on. I have these comic boards that I use to store fabric on. When I iron it, I actually just fold it around here, and I'm pulling it as I sew on this quilt. So that keeps it, once I iron it, it keeps it from getting rolled up. Or you could use a toilet paper roll, a paper towel roll, whatever floats your boat, whatever floats your little boat hunting. All right, here we go. I'm trying to keep my hand out of your way. When you stop, you're supposed to stop with the needle down. I just stop when I stop. and try to make sure it doesn't move. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm telling you all the right way to do it so that your needle doesn't slide. May or may not be the way I do. I know the right way. You Oh, you said you love the color over quilt. Okay. So each time I pull it, since I didn't pin it, I'm making sure that I have all 5 edges lined up so that I'm sewing through all 5 of them. All 5 layers. Uh-oh. Feels like something is not tight. Hold on, you guys. How can this be? This one, let me stick a couple clips here. Something doesn't feel like it's pulling. But it's on the back of the quilt. We're going to make it work. Don't worry, Dolores. I'm not messing up your quilt, Dom. I am not messing it up, but I'm going to clip these edges because for some reason it seems like it's trying to move. Well, I don't like the way this is coming out, so I'm going to stop. Because that little seam ripper that I told you that Mona has, I'm looking at it, it's all straight. It's all straight. It's all straight. But what I am going to do is pick this side out. Let me see. Because you see this little pucker here? This should not be. Maybe because I was pulling on it, but I'm going to take these loose. I'm going to do it off camera, but I'm going to show you how to turn it under and sew it in the front. Dolores says, listen, even if you did, you would still love my pink quilt in your pink world. Oh, that's nice. Thank you, Rudy. Oh, you love the Vineyard Chicks? I know you do. So I'm going to show you guys how I sew the binding down. I'm going to actually take that side off because I'm going to redo it because it's not as flat as I want it to be. So let me find one of these short sides because when it's hanging down, there is some weight on it. So I'm going to start sewing it down and pulling it over right here in the middle, in the middle, in the middle of the block. So I'm pulling it to the front. And I'm going to fold it down. Put the needle at the top. And we're going to start sewing it towards the front. A couple stitches forward, a couple back. And I'm sewing it like, I want to say 1/8 of an inch away from the folded edge. And this was what they called a double French fold binding. Why? Because it's a 2.5 inch. It's 2.5 inches wide, and I've folded it in half. Why? Because when I fold it over again, it's actually 4 layers. and you have all this on the edge of the quilt where it's going to get the most wear and tear, and it makes your quilt last longer. You see some quilts when they get old, they're raggedy around the edges or they're worn out. This quilt won't do that. I don't care how many times you run it through the washer and dryer. Okay, so here we go. Here we go, y'all. Here we go. So actually, if I had had my walking foot on, that last side that I told you was a little bit warped, that would not have happened. But if I had been paying attention a little better between running my mouth. Oh, Mona did what? They have some interesting conversations when they're over there sewing. So much fun to listen to them, especially when you don't have to type in the bushes because you're already sewing somewhere. One day when I have some time, I'm going to go over there, tell them to drop the link so that I can come up with them and sew and cut up and act up. Okay. When I get to the end of this row, I'm going to show you guys. And when I say you guys, you know I don't mean just the men. It's just a New England thing when they say use guys, use guys, use guys. When we were growing up, we weren't allowed to talk to boys on the telephone. And when I would say Daddy would be, he always worked 2 jobs or 3. So during the day, he did his construction, his own business. Hola, Yankee sister, ¿cómo estás? Oh, you guys, guess what? Yankee sister Homestead. I don't know, something happened and she had a problem getting on, she was hidden. Yankee sister, this is you, but it can't go outside until you come get it so that it won't die and freeze to death. Maria says I'm doing a great job. No acting up. Mom is watching. So this one is yours because it's still in the original container. I have one from Tigsy. Tigsy sent me one. I have hers in the window so it gets real sunshine. Wow, you see me? Right? Yuki's sister couldn't get in, and she couldn't, I don't know, something was going on with the channel. It was hidden. It was accidental. Nobody did it on purpose. And she didn't make any videos lying about me either, putting that on the internet. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Appreciate you giving me a chance to explain it and figure out what happened. What happened was, yeah, I don't know. I didn't even know there was such a thing as being hidden. But things happen on the internet, and just like things happen in your family, no need to get mad, no need to stop speaking, no need for all that childish stuff. Talk to each other. She knows I would never do anything to hurt her. I think she knows it. I think she knows it. She knows it. Anyway, I'm the type of person, if I'm going to do something to you, it's not going to be a secret. I want you to know I did it. And guess what? Guess what? It is what it is. Now what? Now what? Oh, what are we going to do? How are we going to handle this? That's just me being me. I'm going to look you right in the eyeballs and tell you, yep, I did it. Now here's a string. I don't know where my little snips are, so let's snip it with the big ones. There we go. So, when I get to this corner and turn it, I will show you what happens. We're almost at the quarter of the block. And again, you guys, we're sewing through 5 layers. So you have to make sure that you have your machine adjusted to where you have a needle that will accommodate all those layers. So now we're getting ready to come to a corner, and I'm going to show you how I miter it. I come down, and I fold it on a diagonal angle. And when you're sewing it, you fold it, you go just the opposite way that you did when you were coming around sewing it on the other side. And that way it reduces the bulk. One. Hold on, you guys. I'm just getting her folded. Getting her folded. So of course you can never get it quickly the first time when you're live. Just because I know I'm in the corner, I'm going to back up a little bit. I don't have to, but I'm going to. And I'm going to turn and stop. Why? Because I want to leave room, back stitch to hold it. I want to leave room so that I can connect it at the end. So now, MB Heritage Farm. Hey Mike, how you doing? Glad to see you up in here. Oh no. I think you guys got some snow and some weather down there in North Carolina where you are. So I want you guys to see the binding, the machine binding on Dolores's quilt. You see the corner, the diagonal corner? You see the stitches? That's when you stitch it down from the front. And this is what it looks like on the back. You can't really see it because it's the same fabric. But if I'd had a different fabric, you'd be able to see it. But that's how it is. If it happens again, email us. Oh, I don't know. I missed something. So you guys, I'm going to finish this offline. Why? Because I'm going to pick that other side out that didn't come out flat. That's never happened. And I could sew it just like that. Dolores would probably never see it. She wouldn't even care. She just has a quilt from her Auntie Ellen. But I know the difference, and I want to make it right. Daddy used to tell us growing up, and Auntie Joanne will tell you, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. So I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, and that means picking it out. Picking it out. Do any of you have any questions? Okay, so Miss Shirley, I think, is going live at 7 o'clock. I'll probably be sleeping. I talked to one of my subscribers today just before I went live. She says, Auntie, aren't you taking your nap? I usually take a nap before I go live because I get up 3 o'clock every morning. I didn't do that today. But you say all is gone of the snow. You're not a fan of snow. When it used to snow when I was in North Carolina, we had to either take the bulldozer, I didn't have a tractor, or the riding lawnmower or something to go and push it out of our own driveway. And it was like on 4 acres. So there was a lot in the front to get rid of, and until you get to the state road. And then they have, oh, what do you call the thing? The coverts, the something verts that you drive over because it was a circular driveway. You could actually take a tractor trailer and drive it around in there. But yeah, there was no plowing the state roads out there. You just had to wait for the snow to melt. Okay, you guys, I don't see any questions. So now it's time to say goodbye. Ego wamote, mother. Ego wamote. I love all of you guys. And I appreciate each and every one of you. If you're here for the replay, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and leave a comment. I'd like to see what you think. What do you like? How do you like this? Yeah, the Culberts. The Culberts. Y'all, I should be able to spell it, like I sure did have to pay for enough of them back in the days when we were clearing the land. So in American Sign Language, this is an I, this is an L, this is a U, this is how you say I love you, but hold on, because I have an outro line back up.